Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
It's the costume that's the thing to capture more than the conscience of the king. And guess what? If you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean that you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals. We pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and in a conversational fashion. And if you like how we do things around here, and I'm going to assume that you do because you're listening right now, then subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, gives you a 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere, places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and plus we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So please give us a like and subscribe there as well for this audio-only experience. We would really appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Letterboxd, the TikTok, the Blue Sky, the Threads. I'm sure there's more. I'm losing track. There's too many. But In the Seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because guess what? If we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it all that much more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please do us that ultimate kindness. Come on by and pay us a visit. Boy, oh boy, we got a fun one right now as we are still elbows deep in award season, consideration season, all that sort of fun season where we're watching the best of the best of the best. Today we're diving into Hamnet. And obviously it is a period piece. It is a very costume heavy period piece. But it's not overt. And I think that's that's kind of the special part of it. Because, it looks good, it looks period, but it's not hitting you in the face with it. And we had the unique pleasure of sitting down with costume designer on Hamnet, one Malgosia Turzanska. I hope I got that right. Just to ask about the origins of her getting the job and working with Chloe Zhao and the writer of the book, Maggie O'Farrell, and the personal nature of the work and having to work with actors and working with directors and understanding visions and sort of everyone being on the same page. We really had a fantastic talk, especially during this award season, as more and more people get insight on the village that it truly takes to make movies like Hamnet, which, if you haven't seen, go see it. It's brilliant. It's a lovely, lovely piece of cinema. But first, enjoy our talk with Malgosia Turzanska. Like I said, I hope I got that right because it's a good one, and we got some real great insight into the art of costume design, which, again, to me as a movie nerd, is always fascinating. So sit back and enjoy. Now, obviously, first off, thank you so much for the time today. I genuinely appreciate this. And congrats on your work on the film, man. It's literally one of my favorite films of the year. I absolutely love it.
Thank you. Same.
Now, I guess the first question is like, walk me through, like sort of the initial phone calls with Chloe and kind of sort of getting involved in this project.
So it was actually we have a friend in common, Molly Asher, who produced Nomadland and Chloe's previous movies. And I was initially going to be the costume designer on Songs That My Brother Taught Me. And then it fell apart a couple of times, it pushed, and then I couldn't do it. And so when I heard about Hamnet, because I had already read the book, I was like, I need to to make this happen. And so Molly put us back in touch. So thank you, Molly. And I made a lookbook that was based on the book because I didn't have access to the script at that point. I think there was no script also at that point. And Chloe just responded to it quite emotionally, and that was it. And so from then on, Łukasz had joined, and then Fiona. And so we were the awesome thing that Chloe did at the very, very beginning was she sent us each other's initial emotional responses, like the
Right.
visual responses. And so we kind of immediately were a team. Way before the movie even started, it was like you understood what the other people were feeling. And Chloe was, I think she picked for this movie, she picked the perfect people because we were all like coming from here, just like from the heart. Sorry, this is audio, just like from the heart. I'm just tapping on my chest. And it was very obvious that Chloe was the things that were the most important were the emotions and kind of reaching something deep and true, rather than, attempting to make a historical epic.
Right.
That was like the first, those first conversations and the first impulses, and I think we carried it through to the end as
Well, and I
well.
mean, I love that because it's one of those things where I can imagine not having a script and kind of going in cold just off the source material. If you're having different reactions, it could have had a different reaction and could have gone a different way. But on something like this, it really did feel like it wasn't necessarily about getting the style right or this right. It felt like getting sort of it felt very much a movie about color palettes and sort of getting sort of that warmness and sort of that emotion across through the piece. Like when did reading the book help or did it
Oh,
kind of hinder?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I think, and Maggie O'Farrell also co-wrote the script with
yeah,
Chloe. So I think the core of the book and the heart of the book is very much in this adaptation. There's one line that I missed, and then I realized that actually the whole movie is that line. So it translated in a different way, and it's the moment where it just kills me every time I think about it, when Judith asks, after Hamnet's death, she
yeah,
says, I might cry. She says, when a wife's husband dies, she is a widow. When a child's mother dies, he is an orphan. But what am I? And it just like, oh,
yeah, yeah.
I missed that line, and then I was like, no, the whole movie is searching for this identity and these answers. And so I feel like they are not, they're not the same, but they work in tandem in a very beautiful way, the book and the film.
No, I'm curious how much. I mean, I guess one-on-one time do you get with the actors? Because I mean, I'm thinking about Jessie
Mhm. So
because obviously she's fantastic in the film, but I think about the scenes earlier in the film where it feels like she's coming out of the forest in almost this ethereal fashion. I mean, even towards the end in the theater, in this crowd of people, we never lose where Jessie is.
yeah.
How big is it to sort of make something of the period but also stand out at the same time? Because again, this is not necessarily people wearing a high class fare, being sort of big and frilly. It's like it's common folk, but it still stands out. It's still very distinct.
Yeah, it's so there is, I wanted to make sure that I am very aware and literate in the period, that I'm not making choices without being informed. So I did, you know, extensive research. I learned a lot, and it's a fascinating time, clothing wise. But she lives outside of the society already.
Yeah,
He is, treated as a witch, she's
exactly. Yeah,
a witch. So she is governed by slightly different rules from the get-go, even if we were going like a super, accurate, in a super accurate manner. But truthfully, actually, her clothing is period correct. It's just the way that she wears it, that she doesn't wear any of those like foundation garments that like she's not wearing any padding underneath. It's
right.
kind of clothing is free and kind of worn in a very practical manner. But she is, and the red was also a part of the period. Many people wore red, but it was making sure that her reds are kind of coming of this, that they're organic to the forest. They feel like they've grown
Yeah,
out of the woods. And so her bodice in that first shot is actually made of bark cloth, so it is made of wood, which was not a period accurate material, but I felt this just needed to happen because she is truly a product of the tree. Like her mother at this point is the forest. So there are moments like that. It was picking and choosing kind of what evoked the feeling that This is an incredibly special person who is connected to other things than the other people that we see around. And so I guess I was looking at her a little bit through Will's eyes and just being amazed at her constantly, which it's not hard to be amazed at Jessie Buckley.
Of course, yeah.
And so we had, because you asked about the time that we had with them, and it was fascinating because Jessie was she came straight off Maggie Gyllenhaal's Bride.
Mm.
And so she came in with bleached blonde hair and painted nails and with this like wild energy still from the other movie. And so we were discovering this character together and kind of just making sure that she felt grounded and organic and just off this world that we were creating with Chloe, with Fiona, and with Łukasz. And I feel like I had all the time that I needed with all of them, actually. There was rehearsals, there was DreamWorks, they were like, it felt like we were a village this whole time. So it was never like, oh, I need another fitting and I can't get to the actor. No, it was we had like we were working like building this together. So it felt it was just very lucky.
I love that. I mean, aside from the ridiculousness of the fact that the movie she shoots before Hamnet, it still isn't out yet, but that's another story for
Yeah.
another day.
Yeah.
But how much access do you get? Particularly, I'm kind of curious on set because obviously a lot of your job is probably done in pre-production, but I can imagine, especially in the moment on set, there's going to be like other than oh, fix this, fix that, there's going to be a no, we have to change that or we have to adjust this. How much access do you have on a day-to-day basis in your job, especially on set?
I guess it's like, whatever is needed because there's moments and I'm not on set all the time, but I'm very hands-on. So I'm trying to be as present as possible. And whenever there's a new costume being established, I'm always there because I don't want to put the the decision or the moment when the director says, "Oh, actually, we need to change the shirt." This is my job to make sure that that happens rather than, putting it on one of my team members. So I'm always there to establish. But there's moments that there's you know, a, a fold in the fabric or a wrinkle that I would prefer not to be there. But the question is like, who will care about this? And if I go in and touch the actor, is it going to break this beautiful moment that is
Right,
happening?
right.
So just being aware, being part of the filmmaking team and being aware what is important at the moment and who like what trumps this. If it's, if there's a piece of clothing that is in front of someone's face, yes, you are going to go and fix it because that's not going to be usable. But if it is a little tweak, you kind of have to weigh it. Is it what is the more important moment here? So that's always a dance. But yeah, we're a team. So
Oh,
if
yeah.
I have the access, yes.
Now I'm curious about something. I mean, this is the theater nerd in me who wants to ask you this, but in watching the players
Mhm.
in the final scene and doing the play, the costuming felt like almost shoddy, but almost exaggerated in kind of like
Mhm.
a I don't want to say poor way, but like sort of a slapdash way that sort of the
100%.
players would back in the day. And I
No.
mean, obviously, how much sort of detail goes into making something that obviously is very well planned look slapdash.
So that was one of the moments that we went probably the furthest away from historical
Right,
truth. So in the era, the players would have been wearing costumes that were donated by the patrons. So
right.
they would be wearing actual of the day, like costumes of the clothing of the day. So they would look the same as the people in the audience. That would be it.
Yeah,
And the thing that it helped with was the people in the audience could see themselves on the stage, so they could connect, which does not work for us in front of the cinema screen because these are not our garments. So I decided to go away from that and to put it somewhere in between the then and now. And also I tried to figure out like what would it be if I went to see Hamlet today in Brooklyn, for example.
mm,
What costumes could I design now that feel right for right now, but also kind of would be understandable in our point of view as the costumes of the day. So they are purely Elizabethan shapes, very they're still exaggerated a little bit, but they are very, very Elizabethan shapes, but they're made of pure linen, and then we painted them with a layer of latex paint. So 100% not accurate. This is definitely a poetic license. And the idea behind it was, one, to put kind of a meta layer on those costumes and kind of to put them between us and then, but mostly it was to kind of give the sense that this play is just being made.
Mm.
It has not been
It's being
played, it hasn't
birthed. Yeah,
been
I like
shown.
that. Yeah.
They're just figuring it out. And so that's why you see the brush strokes and they're not finished. They're very still, you can kind of feel the creative process.
Yeah.
And also this way we see the character of Hamlet mirroring Hamnet's costume, as if his father would be he was remembering, like, what were the colors, what did he wear. And so it's this very simplified version of the memory of his son, kind of crudely painted on another body, including the hair. That's why the hair is
Mm.
painted this golden yellow. So it was a very like homemade aspect, and this like very primitive theater making. And also when you look at the globe at that point, it feels so simple. There's nothing ornate, there's nothing extra. It's just as simple as it goes. So it just went, I thought it went together kind of in a very, it created a very cohesive, coherent look.
Well, and that's the thing that kind of fascinates me, especially when it comes to costume design, because it's one of those things where, and I mean, you've had a couple of high-profile movies this year, like Train Dreams, obviously, again, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's one of those things where your job, you either have to be noticed or you have to be very distinct but not noticed, sort of simultaneously. How do you go into a job sort of trying to find, I guess, not only the nuance of what the character needs, but also to not sort of be, I guess, overtaking the piece at the same time?
I think it goes from that like starts at the very, very beginning, and it's discovering what the essence of the character is and what the essence of the story is. And if anything feels cool and like like something is like extra, looks like too good, it's just not right. Because then you're building on top of the character rather than building from the inside out. And so, of course, there's moments that I'm like, oh, what if we did, like bigger Elizabethan ruffs on people or this and that. And like, of course, there's movies that it's exactly the place for it. But in this particular movie, it's so subtle and so quiet that there's just no space for that. And it same goes for Train Dreams, frankly. It's like it just needs to feel authentic, and not authentic to the period, because this is a secondary thing, but it needs to feel authentic to the character and to this particular story. So it's just making sure that it's not my ego, trying to make something pretty, but it's that I am kind of channeling and helping to channel the character.
How does your job sort of change? Because obviously on something like Hamnet, Train Dreams, I can imagine there's crafting and stuff you have to make.
Mhm.
But when you're working with Rebecca Miller on something like Maggie's Plan, it's like, oh no, I have to go shopping and find clothes.
I also made stuff for but yes. I love that movie. I'm so glad you brought this up. It's very funny because Rebecca, who is now a great friend, and I'm so proud of her recent work. Rebecca hired me based on a lookbook that was so abstract that there was no clothing in it whatsoever. There were like icicles and snowflakes and like cracked eggs. And so, but because we kind of saw something together in these images, then I could go a little bit extra with Julianne Moore's character. And so she looks like this, snowflake Viking, snow queen. But then Greta's character was extremely practical in her life. That's why she didn't want to waste a perfectly good husband. That was like she was so practical. So her clothing was all used like her father's double-breasted coat that she or her single-breasted that she changed into a double-breasted coat. Always reusing, skirts, recutting things. And so there was a lot of making actually that went into it. But it's the same thing. It always starts with the insight of the character and kind of externalizing that in a way that helps the audience quickly get who they are and where they are in the story.
What is more creatively satisfying for you? Sort of the costumes that you have to, I guess, fashion and build and craft, or even something a bit more simple, like if you're doing a Western, like finding the right hat, finding the right band for the hat, sort of the more detailed touches. What's the more creatively satisfying thing for you?
I think it's never the one item. It's always how the character presents themselves,
Right.
like the whole of it. But so for example, I did a Western with Ethan Hawke,
Mm.
and there was I bought a buffalo skin, like a antique buffalo skin that I decided to um shave, which was impossible because it was this like old it was so gross. Um but I ended up using Nair, the like de depilatory cream. Is that the hair removal cream? Like for days and days, I just like naired this buffalo skin to just have little tufts of hair peeking out. And that was supposed to be Ethan's jacket. And what ended up happening is that it was like too much. It was too fashiony. So from that whole giant skin, we ended up with a patch that was, like 4 square inches on his elbow. And still, I love that patch. Like, somehow it added whatever that was, it like helped create something else and something that was specifically him. So there's just like how it ends up, that's like the whole of it is the pride moment.
Now I'm curious, has costume design always been sort of the impetus for you? Like, what got you into this business, especially on this side of the work?
So I never knew this was a job, actually. Not never, but for a very, very long time. And so there was a moment in high school where I ran away from school because I didn't want to do a chemistry test. And and it was cold and miserable outside. So I went to the movies and I saw Almodovar's Kika, and my mind was blown. And I was like, these are not clothes. This is something else. Someone did this. And that was the moment that something clicked, that it's like, oh, this is someone's job. And so even though I got this at that point, I thought I was going to be a production designer first. And then it was just realizing that I am most interested in the human scale, that this is my ability ends, at 6 or 7 feet. And that this is where my main focus is. But I studied in Prague in a costume and set design school, and then went to Tisch at NYU. But from the moment I started, I was like, the movies and costumes are it.
Love it, love it. Now, I mean, I'm curious. Obviously, Hamnet's in the midst of this huge awards push. Can you let yourself sort of get swept up in that, or are you just at the end of the day happy that people saw the movie?
I love hearing people's response, like when people let the movie inside
Right.
and they reach out. It's the best. It's just the best thing. And actually, I'm sure this happens to actors and directors a lot. But when we premiered the movie at TIFF, I was outside meeting my friend's friend, and he was introducing me, and this lady was passing by and she heard my name, and she heard Hamnet, and she just like turned to me, started tearing up, and was like, "I'm so sorry. I need a hug. I saw this movie yesterday and it so profoundly touched me." And then I went home and had a beautiful conversation with my daughter about life and death. And I want to thank you. And she was just like catching on to, like, latching onto me and crying, as was I, obviously, because like how do you respond to that? But that moment and those moments kept happening, keep happening in an online form, or just talking to people after screenings. So that is the absolutely like I can't imagine anything more, anything higher than feeling that connection, like feeling someone else connected to our work. It's absolutely insane.
Well, I love that. I was there at TIFF, by the way. I was probably in like the
Oh,
very, very back row, but I mean, sort of this emotional exhale when people saw the movie was just so brilliant.
yeah, yeah, that was amazing.
Now, I mean, I'm curious just to start putting a bow on this. I mean, it's one of those things where I love the work that you do and other people do in your field because it feels really very much the people who understand the concept that, it takes a village to make a movie. No one person does. This really feels like you are one of those sort of key supporting players that never quite get the recognition, but at the same time, you get the payoff in other ways. As you keep doing this job, I mean, what are ultimately the payoffs for you? I guess is probably the best way to put this. Like, is it, like we said, just sort of having those emotional reactions with audiences? Or again, being able to sort of do the work with someone like Chloe, or just to be able to maybe craft something wild and different and new?
I'm always up for the wild and new. I like a challenge, so that's what I'm hoping for. But
Get you a sci-fi movie. We got to get this done.
this is, yeah, I wanted, this is my dream, actually. It's a sci-fi movie, yes. No, because I have no idea what I would do. And also shout out to Jennifer Johnson for Bugonia,
Absolutely.
for the the final scenes. Um, but I think what I love about this moment right now is that I get to meet a lot of other costume designers who have been part of these amazing movies that are out right now. And we have a beautiful community and we support each other, and this is amazing. But I want to make sure that we, on a regular basis, get included in the process of filmmaking, that we're not added on last minute kind of as an afterthought of like, oh, the actors have to wear something. Because the design process starts way, way, way before. And when you're given the time to actually talk to the director and kind of figure out things as they are figuring out things, it's the most it's the like you can get the most out of a collaboration this way, and you can give the most when when you're given the chance. So there's this like I think this is an old phrase, but it's still every now and then I hear it, vanities
Yeah.
describing costumes and hair and makeup. And it's the most insulting and gross thing because it has nothing to do with that. It just, we are helping to craft and build the character. And I just want to make sure that this is something that is, that people are aware of, that we're a part of the team. And on Hamnet and on Train Dreams, and I've been very, very lucky to be included in that process, but I know that not everyone is, and it doesn't always happen. So that's my beacon of hope that this is, that we're changing that a little bit.
Well, and I think that you are because I mean the work that the entire team, Chloe, do on this film is so rich. And I mean, it adds so much to this sort of emotional experience. Getting to see it on the giant screen and just sort of have it wash over you is really what cinema is all about to me. And I mean, I think that's such a key factor in making memorable films like this. And I mean, I think that's what you've all done. But I mean, honestly, again, thank you for the work and just thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate this.
Thank you. Thank you for seeing the movie for what it is, and for this chat. Thank you so much.
Boom. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.